The collapse of Storm Financial in 2009 cost thousands of investors hundreds of millions of dollars. Many people lost their life savings. Understandably, there was outrage last week when the federal court fined Storm Financial's founders a total of just $140,000 for breaching their duties as directors. A group representing thousands of Storm investors says the major banks have so far escaped scrutiny, and it's calling on the Banking Royal Commission to step in. Peter McCutcheon reports.
Cecily Hurd isn't living the life she expected in retirement, having lost her husband and most of her life savings. Her one comfort is family.
Hello, how you going?
Hi, good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Come on in.
It's difficult. I still talk to my husband when I watch the football. I think he's still there.
Come on in, come on up.
Well, how have you been today?
Yeah, good.
Cecily and her late husband Robin were victims of the collapse of Storm Financial.
I've certainly learnt from it. I keep my money in the bank now, what little I've got.
The response has been overwhelming, so just bear with us, we're almost ready to go.
Storm Financial targeted investors around retirement age, convincing them to borrow heavily against their assets, often the family home, to invest in risky share schemes. It all came unstuck after the 2008 global financial crisis, threatening to blow the life savings of up to 3,000 investors.
Well, time and again we both asked that was there any opportunity, any chance at all of losing our home? And our advisor said, no, don't worry about that.
730 first spoke to the Hurds in 2010, shortly after the retired Queensland school teachers had been forced to sell their dream home and move in with Cecily's daughter.
We're fortunate in that we've been able to rent here, part of the home, and had it not been for that, we could have been out in the street.
Nearly 8 years later, Cecily says she's coping, courtesy of a settlement with her bank.
One thing I'm really quite upset about was the fact that my husband died not knowing that we were going to get any compensation whatsoever. 2 weeks after he died, we got a small compensation, 27 cents in the dollar of what we'd put in.
The federal court last week handed down the punishment to Storm's owners, Julie and Emmanuel Casamatis, who were found guilty of breaching their responsibilities as directors. The fine for the $800 million debacle was $70,000 each. What did you think of the federal court decision?
Well, it's pretty hard to answer it.
Do you think the penalty for the Casamatis was enough?
Not really, no. No, it's like for them, it's like charging me $10.
10 years on, many families destroyed, marriage breakups, even suicides and lots of stress. I can't see after 10 years that this amount of money is enough.
Hi Steve, how are you today?
Good, thank you.
Good.
We're ready to put the sign up?
Steve Reynolds was forced to sell his Townsville home in 2008 because of the storm disaster.
On my income of $800 a fortnight, it appears I'm in debt to $1.2 million. And I do not understand at my age how that could have occurred.
Despite the passing of a decade, the Vietnam veteran is still angry.
The money that was flowing around was enormous, and more money that was lent, the more in commissions and upfront commissions and trailing commissions that went to Storm Financial. So it was just a gravy train.
And that's where angry investors want to see more scrutiny, calling on the present Royal Commission into banking to look at how Storm was able to secure so many high-risk loans.
Certainly there is clear-cut evidence of banks behaving in a manner that falls short of public expectation, where they, are falling over themselves to become involved with the Storm model.
I certainly hope that they can tighten up some of their lending procedures and that they will be more accountable.
Some banks did settle with former Storm clients like Cecily Hurd, But many investors feel the institutions which bankroll the Storm model are getting off too lightly.
As far as I'm concerned, only settle for the minimum, and there are many people who whose lives will be reliant on the scrap heap of social welfare, and I believe that they were shortchanged.
How confident are you that something like the Storm financial debacle will never happen again?
I'm not confident, because it'll be forgotten about. We'll never forget about it, but it'll be forgotten about in the years to come.